You may be working hard. Thank you very much, Father Alfonso. I remember when I was a seminarian that the problem in our gospel for today was something that I also encountered. In our gospel, we hear people asking Jesus, why is it that the disciples of the Pharisees and the disciples of John are able to fast and are fasting, but the disciples of Jesus, they enjoy eating and drinking? And I remember when I was a seminarian, I also asked that question because I read the lives of some of the saints, like Saint John Mary Vianney, and he's famous for fasting. He only eats 2 sweet potatoes every day. But then you read the lives of the other saints, like Saint Thomas of Aquinas, and he's telling people that you should be thankful for the graces that you receive. We should be thankful for the food that God provides, so that we should enjoy whatever God is giving. So we should enjoy eating, we should enjoy drinking. And I ask myself, who will I follow? Will I follow Saint John Mary Vianney and fast? Or will I follow Saint Thomas of Aquinas and eat and enjoy the food that God is giving to me? And so there's always this question, what should we do in following Jesus? When we follow Jesus, there's always a time and a place for everything. In the second part of the gospel, Jesus is telling the disciples, in trying to explain what they should do with regards to fasting or feasting, or whether it's time to be sorrowful or joyful, Jesus is telling them that you do not put new wine into old wineskins, because it might burst, or you do not patch new clothes into old clothes. And so Jesus is speaking of change. Jesus is speaking of renewal. But at the same time, the question always is, when? When is the proper time? And always, the answer is also in the gospel. In the gospel, we hear that Jesus is explaining that now is the time for feasting. Now is the time to celebrate, to eat and to drink, because I am with you. And he was referring to his time with the disciples. But Jesus was also telling them, there will come a time when they will also be sorrowful. There will also come a time where they will be persecuted. There will also come a time when they will be in danger of their lives. In terms of asking, what should I be doing? What is the proper thing to do today? The most important thing is to recognize what time it is in our lives. And this is the beauty of our church, because our church has a calendar. Our church tells us what time it is to celebrate. Right now, we are in the ordinary time. It's a time of growth. It's a time of learning. It's a time of just being with Jesus. That's why our liturgy for today, our liturgy for these weeks, is telling us about what we should learn from Jesus. But as we all know, when November comes, there will be a time to remember our dead. When December comes, there will be a time to celebrate Christmas. And when March or April comes, there will be a time to celebrate the passion and death and resurrection of our Lord. So, in terms of asking the question, what should we do? Jesus is telling us we should also learn how to manage our time. And how do we manage our time? We manage our time always by being with Jesus, by always learning from Jesus. Sometimes, if it is time to change, we have to recognize, yes, we really have to make a change. And not just a partial change, but really go for renewal. And if it is a time to treasure our traditions, if it is a time to treasure what we have, to just treasure what is given to us, well, we should also recognize that. Like, for example, I find this gospel very relevant to the ongoing repairs we have for our church. I'm sure that there was a time when it was a time to preserve and to maintain our church structure. But in God's time, He's telling us it's a time for change. It's a time for renewal, even in how we worship in our liturgy, in our own parish church. And so now we are at a time of change, we're in a time of transition. What's important, whether it's a time to maintain and restore things, or whether it's a time for change, we recognize that Jesus is always with us. And in whatever we are going through, in whatever phase of life we are in, whether it's a time of conserving or a time of change, we recognize always that Jesus is with us, that the bridegroom is with us, and that whatever we are doing, whether it is a time of happiness and adventure, or whether it's a time of suffering and pain and bearing our cross, Jesus is also with us, because He will never leave us and He is always at our side.